I am a realtor. I pledge myself to protect the individual right of real estate ownership and to widen the opportunity to enjoy it. I pledge myself to be honorable and honest in all of my dealings, to seek better to represent my clients by building my knowledge and competence. I pledge myself to act fairly towards all in the spirit of the Golden Rule. I pledge myself to observe the Realtor Code of Ethics and to conform my conduct to its lofty ideals. I am a realtor.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday, and I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. Here I go again. Here I go again. Though I keep searching for an answer, I never seem to find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. Here I go again on my own, going down.
Live from on top of the world in Homer, Alaska, I'm Chris Story, and this is Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Mr. David Webb is your engineer and producer all the way back up at the mothership of KPEN and KGTL, AM and FM. Thank you for being here. And a big shout out to Horizon Satellite, Horizon Wireless for helping bring this show about. Their wireless network is how I can be standing here at the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway at Story Real Estate, the nerve center of all things possible and prosperous, and broadcasting live with a millisecond or less delay all the way back up to the mothership high atop Diamond Ridge. It's all because of Horizon Satellite, Horizon Wireless. 226-3130. 226-3130. Got the singles? I'm going to solve some problems today on the program. This is the show about you, your home, and your money, and it starts with you. Single men, I have some advice for you. Now, it's been a while since I've been on the scene. I think my advice will, however, still be relevant. Also, a free dinner, free steak dinner at AJ's Old Town Steakhouse. We've got a trivia question. It's a mind bender for sure. It's a mathletes unite. This is a math problem. So kind of get ready for a math equation. Plus, your emails. A couple of emails that I want to address. Also, dog, by the way, no longer man's best friend. Dog is no longer man's best friend. Rhonda Johnson's going to come in and talk to us about mortgage insurance. Yes, we'll talk during the mortgage moment about interest rates and some other exciting things for our veterans. There are some new VA guidelines Rhonda wants you to know about with Cornerstone Home Lending. But we're also going to talk about how do you rid yourself of mortgage insurance? How do you go about doing that? We'll talk with Rhonda about it in a very special edition of Live Like You're Selling. But now, the gentleman. Ladies, you're welcome to stick around. Don't go anywhere. Just understand this is for the dudes. A little Captain's coffee. So here's some voodoo that I do so well. And again, it's been a while, gentlemen, since I've been out on the scene. It's been actually a long, very long while since I've been on the single scene. But I'm going to tell you this. I think these tools with which I'm about to drop on your head are as effective as they ever were. I think that's about the biggest endorsement I could possibly give for these lines. These are pickup lines. If you haven't already picked up on what I'm putting down, these are pickup lines. Guys, listen up. This is the cherry on top. This will seal the deal. Are you ready? Here it is. Number one. It's not easy to be me, baby, which is why I need you. You have to deliver that. You can't laugh when you deliver that line either. Again, it's not easy to be me, baby, which is why I need you. See, it's two things. One, you're talking about yourself in a very self-deprecating way. Like, it's not easy to be me, but it's also a false humility, and it allows her to understand that what makes you great is your humility and that you need her, i.e. she needs you. So that's money, as Guy Fieri would say. That's money. Boom. Well, that's emerald, but boom, that's money. Number two, here's a second line, guys. I hope you're writing these down. Somebody should be writing these down. If there's one thing I like about you, it's that I like more than one thing about you. That's mediocre. Don't go to that. That's not your go-to. That's just one to have in the quiver. If there's one thing I like about you, it's that I like more than one thing about you. Okay, I think that's a little too intellectual, so I'd save that. Here's one. Let me see. There's so many lines that I've accumulated over the years that over the months I was on the scene, I just need to kind of get down to the basics here. Oh, here's one. In all seriousness, if you're a single gentleman, you have got to use this line, and I suggest you use it quickly. Here it is. Come on, knock it off. You're more unique and wonderful than the smell of a new book. Oh, for the reader, that's gonna be money right there. Now, let's just say, for example, you're a single guy approaching a liberal woman. And this, be delicate, be in deference to her interests, okay? It's not about you, it's about her, gentlemen. This is something that you would use when approaching a liberal woman. You would say something to this effect. You know what? You're so hot. You might be the reason for global warming.
There must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in a sky more blue. If I can dream,
a guy can
of
dream.
A better land.
Can a guy dream? No more singles. I'm telling you, you use those lines, gentlemen, you're going to be as happily married as I am.
Can't my dream come true? Oh, why? There must be peace and understanding sometime.
You're listening to Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money. Boy, I'd love to send you to AJ's Old Town Steakhouse for a free steak dinner. In fact, I may be there Friday. I think I'm going to be there Friday night. I love AJ's any night of the week, but Friday is when I find myself there most often. You can go any night because Old Town Homer comes to life at 4 when AJ's opens the door. Call for your reservation at 235-9949, 235-9949. You deserve a night out on the town. make it AJ's Old Town Steakhouse. Now, this is a math problem, so I warned you that mathletes will have an advantage here. So if you're not brushed up on your math equations, this is the time to maybe phone a friend, text a friend, call somebody, and get them involved. So if you've got math skills, this could be your event right here. Get your phone finger flexed and ready. Text in at 299-7653. 299-7653. That spells sold, by the way. 299-SOLD. So easy. You don't even need to remember that. It's just fantastic. 299-SOLD. Text that in. Here's your question. Oh, by the way, include your name. It just makes it easier. Include your name. 299-7653. Here you go. How many yards of dirt is there in a hole that measures 2 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet? Looking for the cubic yards of dirt in a hole measuring 2 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet at 299-7653. 299-7653. Chris Story here along with Mr. David Webb. We've got much more to come, including Rhonda Johnson and your mortgage moment straight ahead here on Radio Realty. Stick around. You're listening to Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money. You've tuned in just in time for our mortgage moment. Today brought to you by Cornerstone Home Lending. Online, RhondaJohnson.net. You can call or text Rhonda at 252-5682. Rhonda Johnson, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Chris. How are you today?
Trivia question is gathering a lot of heat. Did you hear the question, Rhonda?
I did, but there's not even a multiple choice answer.
Not even a multiple choice answer. We're going to strain the brain. Some people have gotten it correct. I'm going to say right now Steve has got it correct and a couple of others. But Rhonda, more importantly, obviously you're not going to dinner for free at AJ's. But, the next time you and Roger are in town, I want to put this out there publicly right now because it took me so long to thank you for that delicious smoked salmon and other gift that you gave me. I'd love to take you and Roger to dinner at AJ's. So Tiffany and I would love to do it. We need to get together yet in the month of November if you have time. Let us treat you to the best steak dinner on earth.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate that. I've been meaning to get there, and I'm just never in town that late at night, so I appreciate that.
They open at 4. We can have a nice early dinner, get you guys back up to the Soldotna Kenai area before the sun even sets. All right, Rhonda, is the sun setting on interest rates? Where are the mortgage rates at today?
Well, today's a little bit of a volatile day. We saw a lot of movement in the stock market and the bond market, so we're still pretty good in the low 4s. But today was a really volatile day, so I'm kind of holding off on locking any of my clients right now until we see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's amazing to me that just the slightest. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I just saw something that shows the disparity. Look, interest rates matter, but what matters most. I mean, look, if you can get a better rate, and Rhonda's suggesting you hold off, do hold off. But these rates, even if we approach 4.25, 4.98, doesn't matter. It's still incredibly low. We still get to use the term historically low rates. I think that still applies.
Exactly. It sure is. It's still really great. So, we'll see an 8th up and an 8th down, and they just kind of bounce around there. They're never exactly the same all the time, but they are still phenomenal interest rates.
Talking with Rhonda Johnson in Cornerstone Home Lending. Rhonda, somebody called me yesterday and said they just wanted to pick my brain a little bit about how to remove mortgage insurance. And I know that's a big conversation. It's a big cumbersome conversation to have in the short time we have together. But my take on it was, and I want to run this by you and see if I was giving them good advice. I think if you're ready to remove your mortgage insurance, or you think you're approaching an 80%, 80-20 LTV, then I think what you need to do is contact whomever's holding your mortgage and make a request of it. And they'll probably have you make some sort of an application, which will then involve the next step of having an appraisal to establish that loan to value so you can show you've got 20% at least equity in the house. Am I leading this gentleman astray, or is that accurate?
No, I think that you're accurate in the comment to call the lender and double check with them. Sometimes if you've just made extra payments, accelerated your payoff, and you're still using the original sales price or appraised value that you started with, once you hit that 80% mark, you can absolutely request for that mortgage insurance to be removed. Now, let's say though, I bought my house and I put 10% down, and then I received a chunk of money and I wanted to get it down below 80% to remove the mortgage insurance. Sometimes you need to have that mortgage insurance for a minimum of 2 years. And so I might not be able to get rid of it right away. So each loan has a little bit different parameters, and each one is spelled out in a disclosure in your closing documents, but that's that humongous stack of papers that you get at closing. So calling your lender and asking for clarification for your specific loan is really prudent.
And just to reiterate, mortgage insurance is essentially, we think of it as this terrible thing, but truthfully, isn't it what allows us to have these incredible 30-year fixed rate mortgages that heretofore or back into the prior to the World War II, we didn't have them. We had revolving mortgage, they weren't even mortgages. They were just, interest rates would fluctuate and everything. So this is our friend. We want to not pay it if we don't have to, but it's still not a terrible thing.
No, it's what allows us the opportunity to get into a home for less than 20% down. And so it takes the place of your down payment. Once you reach that 20% equity status, though, then the insurance isn't needed anymore. So it is time to get rid of it.
Applying online, when you apply for a mortgage online, basically what I'm doing, I usually tell people to give you a call first, kind of talk with you or somebody in some of the qualified people you have in your office is a cornerstone around the state, by the way. But then go ahead and feel free to make that application online. I know Tiffany and I are in the process of acquiring another investment property, and that's exactly what Tiff did. Went to your online website and found it really smooth and easy. And that's not my bailiwick. A lot of times I'm a little bit resistant to doing that. I just show me the paper where to sign. But the reality is, Tiff said it was slick, it was easy, and super secure, and we loved it. So I just want to remind folks, if you want to get this ball rolling with Rhonda, go to rhondajohnson.net, right?
Yes, exactly. And, I have some folks that are from out of state buying a second home. And so it's two different sets of borrowers, and they're in different states. And they were able to do that. Application takes about 7 minutes to complete. They uploaded all of their documents in like 5 minutes, and I had a complete loan in my system ready to go, and we're fixing to close them in about 10 days. So from start to finish was just about 10 days, 10 working days. And so that's the ease of that online application and the documentation feature.
You're listening to Mortgage Moment here on Radio Realty with Rhonda Johnson, my guest for the segment, 252-5682 or rhondajohnson.net. Rhonda, I want to get to some of the upgrades or updates to the VA loans you want to talk about. I'm curious as to what's going on. But before I do, one more question out of my simple mind, and that is, when buying a townhome, and by this I mean a zero lot line versus a condominium. So buying a townhome, that's the same kind of mortgage process that you'd go through just buying a single family home, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if it's a zero lot line where you own one half of the duplex, say, from the walls out, is just like a single family home, just like any other single family non-attached home. Yep.
Love it. And so the reason I'm saying this is I know that sometimes people will do small condominiums. I love the idea of it being a townhome versus a condominium, because getting and you tell me where I'm stepping out of line here, Rhonda, is that when getting a condominium loan, you have certain processes you have to go through to approve the condo association. You have rules and meetings and accounts and things that have to be balanced. And then you also have a certain ratio of occupancy that you have to meet for owners versus tenants, right? It gets more cumbersome, especially if you only have two.
Exactly, because if you have to show that 80% of your units are owner occupied, and if you only have a 2-unit condo association, then if one of them is a rental and you're trying to occupy the other, you can never reach that 80% mark. So having it condominiumized is way more difficult for financing purposes. And then you have to keep that association up and strong and all that kind of stuff for the whole life of that building.
Right. Okay, very good. Rhonda Johnson, you've got some news for us regarding our veterans loans. What's going on? What's up?
Well, in light of Monday being Veterans Day, then I wanted to make sure that all of our veterans out there knew that the president signed into public law the VA Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act of 2019. And what that means is that we used to have a limit on how much a veteran could borrow, which was the conforming loan limits. And if they purchased a property for anything above that, they had to put 25% of the difference down. Well, if you have full eligibility on your VA certificate of eligibility, They have removed that limit, so you can virtually purchase anything you want to that you qualify for with VA up to any loan amount with no ceiling, no limit. So I thought that was really, really cool because we've run into some here recently where that 25% difference was a pretty good chunk of change for our veterans to put down. A couple other things, and that all takes effect on January 1st. However, on January 1st, then the funding fees also go up just a little tiny bit. So if you've never used your VA before, VA is going to charge you, instead of 2.15 as a guarantee fee, it'll be 2.30. So what that means in dollars is like on a $200,000 loan, it'd be about $300 extra in the VA funding fee.
Oh, okay. So somewhat negligible. I mean, in the long scheme of things, when you're talking about zero down, not having to pay zero down. Plus, remember, we'll come full circle here. No mortgage insurance for vets.
Correct. And then one more enhancement that they made was that if you're active military, if you're on active duty right now, and you have received a Purple Heart, they're waiving that entire VA guarantee fee. And so Purple Heart recipients, anybody that receives $1 in VA disability gets that fee waived. So we're always asking questions about that, not to be mean or nosy or anything, but we're looking for opportunities to waive that guarantee fee for you. So when you do apply as a veteran, then make sure you're sharing that kind of information to try to save some money.
2 adjectives never used about Rhonda Johnson, mean or nosy, but I'll tell you a couple of adjectives that are used often, and that is insightful, helpful, prompt, and knowledgeable. Thank you, Rhonda Johnson. I really appreciate your time and expertise today.
Thanks, Chris.
America, America, make God thy gold refined, till all success be nobleness, and ever again divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties.
You're listening to Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money. Brought to you in part today by Johnson & Sons Construction. Wade and Jason Johnson are local area land experts. You need them on your side. You don't have to wonder when you call Wade or Jason Johnson. You don't have to wonder because you know you're going to get treated like family. Johnson & Sons Construction since 1978. Real people doing real good work. Need a road, driveway, septic, foundation? Johnson & Sons, honor and integrity, going above and beyond, below the ground. Call Johnson & Sons today, 235-7556, 235-7556. Our real trivia question today, you could go to AJ's Old Town Steakhouse for absolutely free. Test your math skills. How many yards of dirt is there in a hole that measures 2 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet? That's 2 by 3 by 4 foot hole at 299-7653. Chris Story here with David Webb. We'll be back with much more here on Radio Realty. Stick around.
He crowned my good. He told me he would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Broadcasting here from the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway, the home of Story Real Estate, the nerve center of all things possible and prosperous. Thank you for being here today. I want to quote Will Rogers. Will Rogers said, after eating an entire bowl, a mountain lion felt so good he started roaring. He kept up roaring until a hunter came along and shot him. Will Rogers said the moral of this story is that when you're full of bull, keep your mouth shut. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Only like Will Rogers can do. Keep entering your name and answer to our trivia question here. We've got just kind of looking here. There's a lot of different answers. A lot of answers coming in. Let me repeat it one more time. This is our trivia question. You could be going to AJ's Old Town Steakhouse with a free dinner ticket on me, free steak dinner, 299-7653. How many yards of dirt is there in a hole that measures 2 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot? 2 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot. This will test your math skills. 299-7653. Got an email the other day. Initial A, Chris, I'm talking to a seller about rent to own. Is it normal to have such a large deposit? I went over this before, but I want to go over it again. Renting to own is a bad idea. This has come up twice in the last 2 weeks, and so I think it's worth addressing again. Early occupancy. Reason why. Early occupancy nails down all the terms that matter to you most. And I'm speaking to you as the buyer. Now, let me speak to you as the seller. You do not want to create a tenancy relationship with this individual. You do not want to become a landlord to a tenant. Your obligation, your goal is to sell. They are a buyer. Now, what happens, for example, if the toilet plugs or there's some issue that arises, and it's just a regular mundane kind of thing that a tenant would normally call a landlord. No. You're buying this home. You are responsible for this in early occupancy. You're going to maintain this. You're going to maintain the trash. You're going to maintain the yard, the utilities. You've got all these things. These are in your court as a buyer. And so you as a seller, this is good for you to have them as your buyer, not a tenant. Even if it lasts, I've done these for 3 years. I've helped people 3 years along the way. Now, that has to be negotiated. Sometimes it's a week of early occupancy. Nevertheless, never do you want to create a tenancy relationship, and you want to know what is the price, who's paying what closing costs, what condition will the property be sold in, is it subject to this, that, or the other thing. Get all these things nailed down now versus a year, 6 months, or 3 years from now. Again, I hope that helps. Another email came in from JP. Initials JP. I said I promised I would not use this individual's name. It just was it's not even like you're going to listen to this and go, well, nothing confidential or anything. But nevertheless, I said I would just leave it at that. JP writes, what can I do to my house to increase the appraised value? What can I do to my house to increase the appraised value? So the number one answer would be time. Just time, appreciation. You know, it's gonna go up. In fact, I've got something here talking about strategic defaults making a rise again. I don't know why journalists are doing this, but some journalists, even U.S. News Report and so forth, talking about the strategic defaults making headlines again. Yeah, however, you have to understand, 96% of American homes, 96% are having positive equity. Positive equity. The headline, though, the actual headline from U.S. News and World Report talked about the 4-point-some-odd% that are underwater. I'm like, no. The headline, folks, is 96.5 or whatever percent of us have equity of all homeowners in America. That's fantastic. Anyway, I digress. Going back to JP's question, time, appreciation. That's going to increase your appraisal. Number two, what can you control besides waiting? Curb appeal. Absolutely, curb appeal. When you drive up to your home, are you proud of it? Let's just say that the appraiser is going to be at your house tomorrow. Is there anything you're like, oh, dagnabbit, I wish we would have done this, that, or the other? Have you been putting off painting? Trim paint is, kind of starting to fade, or worse yet, peeling. Window boxes are still full of dead plants. And so, curb appeal. Windows need replacing. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we'll have time today, but got some interesting news on windows. But anyway, curb appeal. It's totally within your control. Totally. And then third would be layout. Is there anything in the layout that you can do, ought to do, want to do, should do to make it better? Without going into great expense, a lot of times you can change or alter the layout. Sometimes it's just furniture. Sometimes it's the way a room has otherwise been used. I know one thing for our home, and I'm convinced it's increased our home value, is our library, or some people say library. So that's that. I mean, we took a bedroom that was otherwise a useless bedroom and turned it into this cool and amazing room. And I know that we have far exceeded the value of that room versus the cost of renovating that room. So that's one thing, just altering your layout. you can get into some big dollars if you're going to add on or move walls, but nevertheless, it's still within your control. And then finishes. I'm talking about flooring, talking about painting, talking about trim. Do you have hollow core doors and you want to go into a solid door? Remember, your appraiser is a human being. I know, don't always feel like it, right? I'm kidding. We love our appraisers, but they're human beings, and appraisals are subjective because it's not just the room count and the square footage. There's grade, right? There's a grade that they give the quality of finishes and the quality of the property. So keep that in mind. Are you taking full advantage of your view, JP? Maybe you've got a killer view, but you've preferred the privacy, and so you haven't cut down or trimmed some trees. Well, view is big. So when an appraiser gets into a property and they're later comparing it to other properties, they're going to say, wait a minute, this view quality was superior at my comparables. And so what I'm going to do is deduct a certain amount from you. I mean, that's just the reality. There's no way around that. So time, curb appeal, layout, and finishes. You can control 3 of the 4. Well, truthfully, even time's in your control. Just kick back and relax a little bit.
Fast on a rough road, riding high through the mountains, climbing, twisting, turning further from my home. Young, like
I'm not getting any love from you. Here I gave you all these great single pickup lines. Not a single gentleman has said thank you. So that kind of hurts. I gave you my best. I gave you my best material. I'm beginning to think you didn't want it.
if I don't survive, I was born free. I was born free. I was born free. Born free.
I stopped into First National Bank Alaska the other day, and there was an elderly woman there, and she asked me if I could help her check her balance. So I shoved her over, and she fell. I'm just kidding. It didn't happen. It's a joke. It's funny.
Deep like the grandest canyon, wild like an untamed stallion. If you can't see my heart, you must be blind. You can knock me down and watch me bleed, but you can't keep no chains on me. I was born free. I was born free. I was born free. Born free.
So if you were around, by the way, you are listening to Radio Realty here on KPEN and KGTL. Mr. David Webb is your engineer and producer. I am Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in Real Estate. If you were around with me back in, can you believe, that's right, 2008? 2007 and 8 was, and I say 8 specifically, but that's 12 years ago. So if you were with me, say 11 years ago, you would have heard me quite a few times on this program talking about, did you notice that, by the way, I just said program? A lot of people will say program versus program, and I always feel so awesome when I say program. But I have to remind you that it's not that I'm messing with if you say it that way because that's your accent or whatever. I'm not messing with you. I really like it. I feel awesome when I say program. I don't know why. It just, it's one of the words that I alter just for my own benefit. So take that. We were talking about strategic defaults quite a bit. In fact, I had an investor friend of mine criticize me. He was up here from the lower 48, and he became a friend through the program, as you have as well. Thank you. And he criticized me and said, you're so ignorant, you don't even understand that strategic defaults are happening all the time. And I said, friend, I do understand, and I don't appreciate it. I don't like the idea of strategic defaults, and I'll tell you why. Again, let's go back to the headline. 4-point-some-odd% of homes are underwater in America. It should be the converse of that, and I think these are self-fulfilling type professorial headlines that you think that somebody who writes a headline like that is equated a little bit like to the power of a professor. They've got knowledge, and I think it becomes self-fulfilling like a self-licking ice cream cone to a point where we begin to react and act out of fear and so forth. No, the headline should read 96% of your homes have positive equity. Again, 2008, 9, there was a lot of people underwater. What was I saying? Hold on, if you can. Okay, hold on. Never once did we decry that you're horrible a person if you ended up in default or you ended up in foreclosure or a deed in lieu of foreclosure. It happens, I mean, it happens. And certainly, I hope that it never happens to you. But if you need to, if it's your back's against the wall, strategic was different. Here's what strategic default was meaning back in those days. People would take a large chunk of equity out of home A, buy home B with that cash, default on home A strategically. That is wrong. That I'll stand on my head until I turn red. Go see Cal. That's absolutely wrong. Another one is, by definition, strategic default, according to the economists and the experts that write these stories, is just making a business decision and strategically defaulting on a loan that you can, get this, otherwise afford, but you choose not to. Right? You're with me? That's wrong. So I think it's just a bad business move. And not only are you going to tank your credit, you're going to lose any future. And maybe this is it. Even more importantly than tanking your credit for just a little while is you're going to lose future equity, because buy and hold is the strategy that equals gold. And I want to evidence this with facts from the United States government census, the U.S. Census. This is your government. 1940, okay, in Alaska, 1940, the average home sold in 1940 for $21,000. By 1950, $44,000. By 1970, $89,000. By 1980, $150,000. Okay? So, and now where are we? Average, we're going to call it 340 if we include the Metroplex of Anchorage, 350. So, I mean, hello, this is it's a pretty significant thing I'm saying, that if you just hold, you're going to be okay. And this is across the board, all 57 states. This isn't just Alaska. I mean, but it means something to me when I hear economists and otherwise smart and educated people touting things like strategic default as though it's just an option. And I say, nay, it is not an option. Not an option. We have a segment coming up in a little bit, Live Like You're Selling, because one day you will. And that may be tomorrow, or it may be 5 years from now. I want you to have all the equity possible. I want you to be able to hold on through the tough times and have that equity on the far side of it. Again, if something comes up and you can't, you're not going to find somebody to blame you here. I'm still going to be your friend and your partner and your advisor on this side of it. But I'm just saying, strategically speaking, I don't like that. It really got me upset this morning when I read that article. And I thought, this is like flashbacks to 2008 and 9. But anyway, thank you. By the way, my daughter, Ashley Story, is responsible for my finely coiffed head of hair. I'm Chris Story with a confession. When my hair is freshly cut, I feel better. Sure, I look better, but that's a bit like gilding the lily, huh? When my hair is freshly cut, I feel better, and you can't put a price on that. At Shortcuts by Ashley, you can make a stand-in appointment or just walk on in. Ashley Story is a trained professional with years of experience behind her brand. Shortcuts by Ashley on Lake Street. Call or text 299-7223. 299-7223. Shortcuts by Ashley. Let's face it.
Every girl crazy about his shine dress man.
Tell me that ain't so. And by the way, girl gone crazy. I don't know where she gets these ideas. This girl, Ashley Story at Shortcuts on Lake Street, just below Ulmer's, a couple doors down, is in one of the little log cabins there. She's starting tomorrow. She opens tomorrow. Her grand opening is tomorrow. $10 haircuts until the 18th. Crazy. I said, don't do it. Don't do it, girl. She's doing it anyway. $10 haircuts, 299-7223, 299-7223. Call or text for your appointment right now. Chris Story here, along with David Webb. We'll be back with the final conclusion, the exciting concluding moments of Radio Realty. Stick around. You're listening to Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money. Let's talk about both you, well, all three, you, your home, and your money right now. Live like you're selling. I'm Chris Story. Thank you for tuning in. Laura says that I'm on a roll today. I hope that's on a roll uphill, not downhill. It could go either way. Live like you're selling, because one day you will. Presented by Story Real Estate here at the corner of West Hill in the Sterling Highway, 1005 Carriage Court. A little real estate firm here in Homer, online, soldonhomer.com. Call us anytime, 226-3933. Now, here's my recommendation. Don't wait to change out your old foggy windows when you go to sell your home. Here's the reality. You could be spending far less money today and all the way through your ownership of the home by replacing your old low-energy windows with better windows. 30% of your home. Did you realize 30%, according to the U.S. Department of Energy, 30% of your home's lost energy is through the window? Not even an open window. I'm talking about closed windows. So it matters. It makes a big, big difference. I'm telling you right now, we have a relatively new home. We sold an older home. We have a relatively, it's 2 years old, and they're triple pane. These are like solar collectant radiant windows. These are the most energy efficient windows I could ever imagine. And I'm telling you, by afternoon, and you probably know this if you've got a home with southern facing windows, if they're working good, man, I'm telling you, you're going to be heated out of house and home. It makes a big difference. So if you're not enjoying the radiant heat through your windows, if you're not enjoying good quality windows, you're missing out. So don't wait until you go to sell. Do it now. Live like you're selling. I thought this was interesting. I found a little rule of thumb. Like, you hear double hung windows or sliding or casement awning hopper fixed. What are they? Well, double hung or single hung windows are where double hung is where both sashes or both panes can actually move. So it's hung up and down. So you'd lower it or raise it, right? Both can move. That's kind of cool. I didn't realize that that's what double hung meant. I just always thought you would slide the window up, but in fact, either pane moves. That's what's double hung. Sliding windows, by the way, are the least energy efficient. Sliding windows are the least energy efficient. There's all that extra area for them to leak and aren't sealed well, versus a casement awning or a hopper window apparently are far more energy efficient. There you have it. Live like you're selling, because one day you will be. We have closed our entry to the AJ's Old Town Steakhouse. No more entries. No more. That's it. Closed off. We're going to announce 2 winners in just a moment and give you the answer to this incredible mathlete question. Right now, though, I want to let you know something you may not know. Dog is no longer man's best friend. Mm-hmm. That's right. According to a survey of 2,000 American pet owners, these are adults, 34% of you prefer your dog to your child. So I'd say that's moved into some other category than best friend. 72% of the respondents are both pet owners and parents. So that gives you, it's a little bit skewed, but it's skewed towards pet owners and parents, I should say. So when you hear that 34% prefer their children to a child, that tells you something. Not everything, but it tells you something. 1/5 of those pet-owning parents even admitted to buying a gift for their furry companion more recently than their child. That's right. You have probably purchased a gift more recently for your dog than your own kid. How do you think that makes us feel, Mom? I actually know my parents prefer their dog to me. I know that. And definitely over my brother. If you've ever met Garrett, you know what I'm talking about, right? Survey put together by a pet food company. I've never heard of this company. It's called I and Love and You. I and Love and You. It's a pet food company. Never heard of them. Anyway, they found 67% of the respondents consider their pet their best friend. Obviously. 78% said their dog or cat is just as much a part of their family as their children. But can you say that about cats? To be quite frank with you, cats, they don't really care about you. Now, I've never had one, but I'm telling you from my experience, or at least what I think, is that, the cats just don't need you. They just don't care. My daughter shared a video the other day online. It said an owner and her cat are reunited after 2 months of the cat missing, and the cat just like veers and walks right past the owner. That's what I think of when I think about cat ownership.
He looked down into her brown eyes and said, "Say a prayer for me." She threw her arms around him.
I told Tiffany yesterday that her she had painted her eyebrows on, and they looked high to me. They looked like they were painted on high, and She looked surprised when I said it.
My last fight. If they take me back to Texas, they won't take me back alive. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lovers in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared,
I want to thank everybody who participated in our AJ's Old Town Steakhouse Real Trivia Contest. Joshua and Ron, Pastor Ron and Joshua, you are both going to AJ's Old Town Steakhouse for free. Many of you knew the correct answer. Many of you. It wasn't a requirement to win. Remember, it's random. You're chosen at random, those who enter. And if you're thinking right now, why didn't I win and you didn't enter? That's why you didn't win. It is random. Pastor Ron and Josh. Did I say Josh? I better double check that. Yes, Joshua. Yep. You guys are both going to AJ's because you knew the answer to this question. How many yards of dirt is there in a hole that measures a hole that measures 2 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet? The answer is 0. It's a hole. It's 0. There's none. Somebody did the math. Who did the math? Somebody did the math here. If you were to fill that hole with dirt, says this person, Tom says, if you were to fill this hole with dirt, that'd be 0.75 cubic yards of dirt. 0.75 cubic yards of dirt. I would have accepted any answer, but the truth of it is, there is no dirt in the hole, hence it is a hole. Trick or question. It got me. I got to tell you, it got me this morning. I read that and I was like doing the math, trying to figure it out, cursing myself and my public education for not knowing the answer immediately. And then realized, wait a minute. And here's the thing. This is the embarrassing part. I even knew I was reading a riddle. Okay, I didn't even tell you a riddle. I made it seem like a real trivia. I didn't even know it. I knew it was a riddle.
The battle stopped and the smoke cleared. There was thunder from the throne. 7 Spanish angels took another angel home. All right, y'all, help me now. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. Oh, I believe they were praying for the lovers.
Is there anything better than the combination of Willie Nelson and Ray Charles? I mean, is that not fantastic? Got some parenting advice for you. Look, I've given the single men some advice. Why not give some parents advice? I am one, not a single man. I'm a parent. Survey shows 1/3 of you are eating your children's Halloween candy. That's right, 1/3 of you. According to a survey of over 2,000 adults in America, 1/3 of you, I'll let Tom do the math on that, 1/3 of you are actually eating the kids' candy, all right? So here is what they're saying. Here's how they're exactly saying that. You know what? I'm going to go take a quick break, and then I'm going to tell you how you can fool your kids next year and get away with it. We'll be right back here on Radio Realty. Stick around. You're listening to Radio Realty, the show about you, your home, and your money. Yes, Tom is telling me that the question was misleading. Absolutely. He said because it's a hole, there is none. Absolutely correct, Tom. If you were to fill that hole, it would take 0.75 cubic yards of dirt. There, I think I've given your entire answer now. You are absolutely correct. Parenting advice here. 44% say of these surveyed, 2,000 people, they hide their kids' candy in hopes that they don't notice, of which they're, of course, eating what they hide. 43% of you pretend that the candy magically just disappeared all by itself. That's what you tell them. You tell them that it just disappeared. They'll believe you. 41% of you say that you sent it off for inspection because of safety concerns. That's clever. Let's see here. 40% are sneaking pieces here and there when the kids aren't looking. And then 37% said they actually say to the kids, your candy went bad. Mommy and daddy had to get rid of it. Those are all creative and clever ways you can abscond with more of your child's candy. I'm Chris Story for Mr. David Webb and myself and all of us here at Radio Realty. I'm reminding you, you really can make $1 million in your own backyard. Taking us out is Zach Brown and the song that he wrote about Homer, Alaska.
First time I saw you, I just couldn't look away. Found what I'd been looking for, but I couldn't stay. But my heart was full and my eyes, they could not believe how you wrapped your arms around your majesty. I wanna slow it down where the water's deep. Get that northern healing washing over me. Made me a better man, and it's plain to see the nature of your beauty puts my mind